Good morning, beautiful people of the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living. Good morning.
Good morning.
When Ava is usually my personal assistant on Sunday morning, she helps sprinkle love. And she was saying, so many people are inspired here. They're so energetic. And I just love them. We get to... She gets them from us. It just oozes from all of us. Thank you. Thank you for that. And today we're going to talk a little bit about continuing to sow our seeds of greatness and to just continue to recognize that within each and every one of us and to just allow that to flow even more so. And sometimes we need to know what to do, the song I will be, then I will do, and then I will have. And so as we look at that being and the doing and the having, it reminds me of this story that this gal was on the operating table, and she was talking with God. She was really having a heart-to-heart with God, and she says, God, is this it? And she heard this voice, and God said, well, you have 40 more years. It's okay. You'll be fine. And just there was a comforting presence, and she felt some calm and some inner peace. And she had such a good time and such a successful surgery that she decided to stay there. And so after about a couple months of a facelift and a tummy tuck, 2 months later, she was hit by a truck. And so she was talking with God again. And she says, God, is this it? I thought you said I had 40 more years. And he said, well, I didn't recognize you. So we get to recognize the divinity within us is already whole, perfect, and complete, and that we have the well-being that's in us, and to trust, to really tell the truth, and to trust, to be and live the trust, and to live our truth. And so we can tap into that natural knowing that we are whole and complete right now, and that we can continue to recognize that. And when we think about being or doing and having, do we feel contracted, like contracted or contained, like there's a cap? Or do we feel expanded and expanding in our good? So contracted, we may feel like we're pulling in, or we may be pulling in, and whatever that constriction might be. Or there may be some dread, or it may be like pulling teeth, or bee in the bonnet, or knickers in a twist, or whatever whatever that is. Or our intuition just says, stay away, honey, stay away from that. And rather than being expansive, so as we realize we're more expansive, we can open up, we can feel enthused, we can be the energy that we're meant to be, that whole, perfect, and complete, and recognizing that, and then to be in forward motion. So there's a momentum we're already in the stream of that motion. And oftentimes we look at our fear, and it's not about getting over the fear, but for me, it's a lot about getting into it and facing with grace. As I face with grace that sense of fear, and I move in forward motion into an expansive way rather than going back into a contracted way, fear is nothing but fuel. So we can look at it as energy, that it's fuel, and oftentimes it's a sensation in our body. So that as we look at that sensation, we can be even more sensational and move with that. And a friend of mine always used to say that fear is excitement with the brakes on. It's like we want to go forward motion, but we may have that with the brakes on. So as we experience fear as a sensation, it may be like champagne bubbles. It may be like butterflies. It may be like a roller coaster sometimes, and that as we have that ride, so perhaps have we all been on a roller coaster sometimes? Yeah? So as we have that roller coaster, we can let it, in essence, as we go there, we can let it be exhilarating. And to use that energy as fear, and we can experience that fear as a sensation. And we can move forward more in faith. And Todd Herman, who's a millionaire, and he does things about peak performance with athletes, he talks about we have an owl brainer or a wow brainer. And how many of us have experienced having an owie, or having an owl brainer happen, or we have some approach in something that's in our life about having an ow. So, ow, that hurts. Or, ow, I want to retreat over here and retreat back into that safety or that containment. Or retreat to my old way of doing things. Or we can look at having a wow brainer rather than having a story of being stuck, bored, need to feel safe or comforted, or contracted or retracted. We can have that part of our brain lead us and guide us, and to know that we have that intuition to follow us into being a more pleasurable experience. So that as we experience that fear as a sensation in our body, in our spirit, in our mind, in our emotions, whatever that is, we can use those champagne bubbles, those butterflies, those roller coasters as energy, as a sensation to be even more sensational. So we have that exhilaration. So the wow being more of a wow brainer, we are going to experience more pleasure. We are going to go with the flow. We are going to learn. We are going to grow. And we have that sense of wow rather than that sense of ow. And that we can move forward more in confidence, more as life as an adventure. And so if the ow part is if we're stuck or bored or have this need for security or safety like prominent in our mind, what we can do is with the growth and with the confidence, we can know that we're already in the momentum and the flow with enthusiasm, and it's part of the transformational process. It's part of that natural flow. And what happens when we're on a roller coaster sometimes is it brings speed, it brings power, and it also brings clarity, right? We have a heightened sensation rather than just listening to those dull things that may be happening in our circumstances or situations. We have more of a wider vision. We get to the very top and we have a clearer vision. So out of that clarity, we have vision. And prayer, which we'll be experiencing even more of next week. We'll be experiencing even more of today, right here. Prayer allows us to be more specific and allows us to have the clarity of that transformation and that vision. So we have this thing, it's at the very stem of our brain, and it's called a reticular activating system. Can you imagine like the teacher saying, you have a reticular activating system? And it's a little piece of the brainstem that filters out millions of pieces of information. And so that we can focus on and know that as we're focusing and relying upon that, whatever that sensory data is, whether it's that sensation of fear or that spectacularness of faith, we know that we have that sensory data that tells us what to focus on. And we can be a bit more conscious about using that reticular activating system and to know that we have this ultimate clarity of a successful life. And that our mind, in essence, as we use that, our mind becomes more of a partner in an activating way, whether we're activating it through meditation, whether we're activating it through prayer, through being in community right here and now. We're activating that, and we can experience more wow moments than ow moments by using that. There's a power in this universe greater than we are, and we can use it. That's what Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder of the Science of Mind, said, and it's a guide for spiritual living, this faith and this way of life. So I have a friend who's a health professional, and he had lost one of his insurance carriers, and so it was a big piece of the pie. It was a delicious piece of the pie, and he looked forward so much and had tried to get back in. And so for some reason, he was dropped. It was hard to get into this one particular thing that he wanted to do. And so he was having some ow moments about that, and over quite a few months, he turned to prayer. And he was moving his faith in feeling supported in the universe, knowing that there's an infinite supply, that the divine source is all, that it is ever available, that he is absolutely connected with his abundance, that he has the connections, he has the feelings of the people that he was helping, and he's experiencing their success and envisioning their success and knowing that they would have access to his skills and his talents and his gifts. And so what he found out was just out of prayer, and it didn't take too long, that this income stream was renewed, and where it came from was that the people started to request him. They said, we need what he has to offer. And it came through kind of one of those backdoor kinds of things that's, wasn't an accident, wasn't a coincidence. He just started to realize that instead of focusing on the I took whatever that loss was. He started to focus more on the wow in his prayer life, in his connections, in his conversations, and to have that door be open once again and to be able to know that his confidence and his adventurous spirit absolutely had this wow moment ready for him. And if we look at ways that we can do that, we can have that reticular activating system work on our behalf, that we can focus on what we desire. We can focus on what we want. And so sometimes we look at that sensory data or that appearance that's in our life, like when he didn't have some clients. He can look at that data, and it could be about the data, or he could fall back and look at to trust, and then to begin to focus on the truth, that he knew he was connected. He was absolutely connected. So what he started to do was to tell the universe about his dream life. He started to tell the universe about envisioning these people leading successful lives, and the ultimate clarity that he had about that, and the ultimate clarity that the individuals that he inspired had. And so his mind became a partner. It absolutely was partnered up in having what he desired. What he also did was he got a power posse. Friends. He gathered a tribe around himself. He had friends that he would walk with and hang out with that were awesome. And they were people who were really good at initiating things, at starting up something new, at moving from that ow place to the wow place and having success in their lives. And they began to share notes. They began to talk about and listen to some of the disappointment, and then to have that become to shift and to find even more of that. And where we can find that here is in community. Where we can find that is on social media. We were posting some of our events, and I found some other events to meet with like-minded people too. And it's a great thing to know that we are already connected. We just need to tap into that. So speaking of tapped in, another example is this center's minister emeritus. And this week he said, yay for the power of prayer. Yay for the amazing powerhouse of prayer, and we're all a part of that. And I just wanted to read this. I know we'd sent it out in the e-blast, but yay for the power of prayer. Reverend Jack Blackman says, the latest CAT scan indicated that the cancer has been contained within the bladder. Jack had to make a decision to choose between, and this is Victoria Hyatt, who's his squeeze, who's caring for him, and what a heart full of love. So Reverend Jack had to make a decision to choose between, number one, more surgery on the bladder to remove more of the cancer, or two, removing the entire bladder with a long recovery time to get all of the cancer and follow up with chemotherapy and radiation in both of those options. However, Reverend Jack, Victoria, and Kim, who is Jan's daughter, and all of you, so all of us, are doing a lot of energetic and prayer work. Today, the doctor examined Jack, and I think this was Monday, and stated that all of the cancer that he could possibly remove is gone. And just chemotherapy and radiation are all that are needed now. Jack sends his deepest gratitude for all your prayers and well wishes. And he says, yay for the power of prayer. So Reverend Jack, too, has a power that's gathered around him, and that is us. That is that community that is already gathered. And so he has that clarity. He has the surrender. He has the peace. And he has his, in essence, power posse. He has his gathered people. He's gathered a tribe around him to love him up. So he, too, is another example. An amazing example. and I'm so grateful for his love. Another example is a while ago, a friend of mine said she had a good dream. She had not been having a good dream for years. A lot of her dreams were more like going to the drama at the movie theaters. It was more like the action movies, or maybe science fiction. I don't know, but it was really, she said she had not had a good dream in years. And having talked and just provided a space, you know how we can all be a beneficial presence and hold a space for somebody. We can do that this afternoon. What she said was she had not had a dream that didn't involve conflict. And like those films, what she did was she called upon people in her life to help move her from that ow experience into that wow experience. And this was a while ago, and what she realized is, am I being deliberate in my living this, or am I living by default? How deliberate am I being in setting my intent when I go to sleep in the evening? And what happened was she had whatever energy that was in that cycle of playing those films over and over. She was able to release the energy that was around that. And she says, after years, I had a really good dream. It was colorful. And she says, well, you weren't in it, but I know you were represented by such and such. And there was this energy that was absolutely released. And so what she got to do was to turn those disappointments that she kept having into some wins. She turned those into a wow moment in living more deliberately and setting her intent rather than living in that loop of default. And she rediscovered freedom. She got to love herself even more. She got to respect and have even a more sense of freedom and to know that her dreams were a part of her livingness. And she realized that, yes, she had love and support in her life. And it freed up the space. It freed up that energy to be in surrender and to know that, yes, she could have technicolor dreams. She could be inspired and wake up in the morning with that remembrance. If we look at the word remember, it means to come together and that we remember who we truly are. And so her heart began to soar even more and more, and she became even less fearful and less doubting and less frustrated. She had a good dream. And now she's on a new trajectory. She has some traction. She has a new way of living that. And there's also a recap of how to move from fear to faith in our livingness. Much like these examples of the gentleman who regained that stream of his income, much like the friend who regained her dream, having some good dreams. Carolyn Reynolds, in our book of the month, it's called Spiritual Fitness. And she offers how to live in truth and trust. And so much like the friend who had a really good dream, she offers for us to find our thoughts and to feel good in those thoughts. And she offers us to be fully engaged and focus that energy, much like that new trajectory or that traction that we have. And she offers us some keys to having soulful relationships. Whether it's a soulful relationship with our health, whether it's a soulful relationship with our significant people in our life, whether it's a soulful relationship with our wealth, whether it's a soulful relationship like our inner peace, having a really, 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 really good dream. So for example, we may look at how we can be even more self-loving in our life. She says, have 3 things to have more soulful relationships. Be self-loving, have respect, and to know our freedom. And within that space of freedom, she says, to know that we're worth it, that we can absolutely believe that we deserve it. We deserve to have this sense of loving. We deserve to have the good dream. We deserve to have that stream that flows with us, flows fully. And for example, if somebody tells us that they love our green hair, no matter how, green hair, if they love our green hair, no matter how convincingly, we can't really accept it because if we don't believe it's true, and maybe if they actually complement the actual color of our hair, it's not green, right? Well, it used to be green. I used to do some swimming, but if they complement the actual color of our hair, we're likely to accept it because we believe it, and people can really only make us feel as good about ourselves as we feel good about ourselves. So we get to self-love and have self-respect and to know that there's more freedom in that. So we can honor whatever helps us feel nurtured and appreciated and empowered, and to know that there is that acceptance. There's that absolute acceptance as we begin to meet our own needs in that self-care, in that respect, in that freedom, to go from whatever those ow moments are into to the wow moments. And if we go back to looking at the judgment spelled with a Judge, judgment and expectations, those may, defile the sacredness of the journey. And what we want to do is amplify and magnify the good that's in the journey. And if we look at the word respect for ourselves, respect for others, that it comes from the Latin word, I know it's Greek to me, but the Latin word, it says it's from respectare, which means to look again. So not only today are we remembering or coming together in our wholeness even more, but we are looking again. We get to look again with those fresh eyes of having even more wow moments, of being confident and on an adventure and on a journey, and to look again. So if we've been having difficulty, we can go to that soul level and we can have that soul fuel. And going back to knowing that there is that fuel, that excitement, that energy, we can have that fuel and have it be energetically to our benefit. And I know that freedom is in that. So the soul level, whether it's a relationship with our health, our wealth, our relationships, our peace, the soul freedom is so welcome. It's those agreements that we make with ourselves that we can live in more of an expanded way rather than a contracted way. We can expand and have those soul level agreements because we already are in union with the divine. It is this divine life, and we are totally aligned with the infinite and in tune with the infinite, and we can bring this real love, this sense of self-love and respect and freedom to being self-nourished and to honor and to cherish that and know that we can live in an expanded way. So how do we know when we're living in an expanded way? How do we know that we're sharing the time on the right things, on the right stuff? Because if we look at, there's so much to do and so much to say, sometimes we have that feeling at the end of the day that we may not have had enough time. And we can say, oh my gosh, I could have been doing something else, or I could have been doing that, or coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of thing. Dr. Deepak Chopra says that we have 65,000 thoughts a day, and that about 95% of those thoughts are on yesterday, whether it's an ow moment or a wow moment, and to begin to move out of whatever that fear, doubt, and worry, and worry I'm finding gives my energy away to other things or other folks, to just bring that back and to have that expanded consciousness be more free, less contained, and to know that these thoughts, we're really not the same person standing here on Sunday that we were on Saturday. We're really having the best day ever right here and right now, because we know we can love ourselves, we can respect, we can bring that new dream, bring that dream forward, and to have it carry us forward, and to be pulled by the vision, to be pulled by the gifts and the talents that we have to share. So we're going to make a choice. We're going to make a choice to not be talking to ourselves about the same thing. In talking with friends, I don't want to be having the same conversation I was having 30 days ago, 30 days from now. I want to be having more wow moments, and to set that intent and live more deliberately rather than by default, and to have more wow moments. And one way that we can do this is, again, to be true to who we are. We can be empowered to be satisfied, and it's okay to be happy. It's okay to be joyful. It's okay. We can give ourselves permission to do that. And so we can be sharing our time, our energy, our love with what's most vital. in our life. And it's okay to take a look at what our priorities are. So if we look at a handful of our priorities, and they may not be in this particular order, but we have whatever those priorities mean to us, to take a look and list our own top 5 priorities. We might do this monthly. We might do this occasionally. We kind of all do that at the beginning of the year. We're approaching kind of the half of the year, and it's okay to have that high resolve again, to have those high resolutions come back to the forefront of our mind and focus, and to have our good dreams, our dreams be fulfilled. So let's take a look at what top 5 priorities. And this will be on our YouTube channel. It has, I think, about 2,000 views now since last July. And whether it's health and spirituality, love and intimacy, prosperity and life's work, family and friends, creativity, and then there's a blank. We can have a handful plus whatever that is. So to look, and then throughout our day, whether we do this weekly, throughout our day, we can say, how is my day matching up? Take a look at our calendar. Take a look at what incoming and outgoing messages I have. How are they living up to my priorities? What's the match? What's the mismatch? And if there's a mismatch, it may feel like an ow moment, but we can have, in essence, a wow brainer. It's a wow brainer. We can live in those top priorities. Even if we focus on just one this week, have it be health and spirituality. So go ahead and take a moment and establish, make a moment, whether it's now, whether it's later, make a moment and establish those priorities. And look at your calendar in the last 30 days, see where there's a mismatch, see where there's a match. So in knowing that we can move beyond what may look like being contained, we can move into being expanded, we can move into knowing that, like Mark Twain says, I've known many great troubles, but most of them never happened, Yeah. So we can have a new dream. We can build on that. And there's that the work that I do on myself, it's not necessarily a goal, but it's a process. It's a lifetime process, and there's lifetime progress. And I choose to enjoy the process. I choose to enjoy the progress. And Dr. Ernest Holmes says in A New Design for Living, which is our book of the year, he says that we need to recognize that the only security that we can ever experience must of necessity arise from the security that we feel within us. So we feel that within us even more and more. And that the security that rests it's within us, it rests entirely on our conviction and belief that there is a power greater than we are and that we can use it. And he encourages us to have a sound faith, so that as we move from that fear that may be excitement, that feels like excitement with the brakes on, we know that we can let it go and have more love and abundance and acceptance in our life as we have a sound faith and conviction in the nature of life itself. As we have that self-love, that respect, and that freedom, and move from being contained to expanded in this life. And one of the hallmarks of being a wow-brainer is that we pray and that we plan. We know that there's a divine pattern which is unfolding, and we have the confidence, we have that sense of adventure in living in the wellness. The wellness and the wowness. Don't you love that? And that there is an infinite and power and presence that's ever available that we tap into and align ourselves with. And we continue to have the process and whatever those daily habits are that we have. The daily habits might be our meditation, might be our prayer life. We up-level, we amplify, we magnify our prayer life. And we're going to clear out our vessel to know that I will be that absolute vessel of divinity. And so, are we an ow or are we having a wow-brainer? Like my friend who regained that income stream and expanded and opened up in that wow-brainer. How about self-love, self-respect, and freedom? Like the woman who rediscovered her freedom and her dreams, which empowered her livingness. which enhanced her life, which gave her technicolor dreams. What I invite us to do now is to absolutely take this moment and inhale blessings and exhale the gratitude for this livingness, for this lovingness, for this kindness, for this givingness of this very moment. I invite us to just turn within for this moment of inner celebration. And knowing that there is the infinite supply of that which is so prosperizing and harmonizing, knowing that there is the infinitude and the plenitude of the energy which is filled with possibility. And being in this realm, this dimension, this divine realm of possibility, accepting and knowing and trusting, living in this truth, in this high resolve of freedom, of joy, of this respectful place, knowing that there is only the wholeness, the completeness, the wellness, the love, and allowing this soft place to land and to be, knowing that that which is spirit is set free. So I recognize and unify with this connection of the divine, knowing that there is the divine power which is expressed fully in my creativity, in all of the resources, knowing that I am resourceful, knowing that there is the expansion of the divine pattern, the unfoldment of spirit. It is inspired action. It is spirit in action, showing up as love, as soulful relationships, as the respect and the freedom and the love which just is ever present. It is effulgent. It is that which is the amazing energy which is showing up as truth, as trust, as the livingness in this connection and divine pattern of unfoldment. I am set free in this day and knowing that there is the unique and fulfilling and satisfying qualities of this life which just show up. And it shows up as this livingness and knowing that there are all needs met, knowing that there is the abundant life and the flow, the prosperizing good, which shows up as the flow and the fully expressed creativity, shows up as wonderful resources in accepting this magnificence, the absolute magnificence of who I am meant to be. I know that health and wellness and optimal wholeness is ever available, and it is radiant, and it radiates in this vibrant life as the life fulfilled. And in soulful relationships that show up as intimacy, as allowing and accepting in the fullness of the creative expression, of the love intelligence, of the wisdom, of this levity and life, which just freely expresses as the divine. So being at peace in my heart, I'm grateful, and inhaling blessings and exhaling gratitude. And again, inhaling blessings and exhaling as gratitude. And one more time, just inhaling as the beautiful blessings, beautiful and bountiful and blissful and peaceful and joy-filled blessings, and exhaling as gratitude. I release these words knowing that they are carried forward into the beautiful love that is carried forth into the law of action, knowing that it is acted upon by inspired action of this guiding, loving, and beautiful presence we call life. And so be it, and so it is.